Well, President Trump is marking his sixth month in office this week, touting his policy agenda and transformation of the federal government. But he faces a public skeptical of his biggest accomplishments and a growing focus on his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. For more, I'm joined now by two of our regular contributors. That's Democratic strategist Faz Shakir and Republican strategist Kevin Madden. So great to have you both together here at the table again. Kevin, let's start with this Epstein issue. Obviously, this is not leaving the president anytime soon. You saw the headlines today. You now have Republicans on the House Oversight Committee subpoenaing Ghislaine Maxwell to come be deposed, a subcommittee going after more files. On top of that, the reports that Attorney General Pam Bondi told Mr. Trump in May his name is among those in the Epstein files. Is it surprising you how sticky this issue is, and how potentially damaging is it for you?
It's not, but I will say, like a lot of Americans, I've actually made a real effort, a concerted effort, and strive to avoid reading about Jeffrey Epstein and try not to watch anything about it. And I simply cannot. It's the omnipresence of this story, whether it's mainstream media, conservative media, liberal media, you name it. It's just out there. And I think that omnipresence is what is creating the great distraction. I think even a lot of the president's critics would say that in the first 6 months, he's had a very clear agenda for what he wanted to do on everything like immigration, taxes, DOGE. And he's achieved a lot of it. And a lot of those achievements have been because he's been working very well with Republicans up on Capitol Hill. Now, a lot of that is put at risk because it's a distraction and because it's starting to create this tension, not only for the president inside the White House, but with his allies up on Capitol Hill. And I think that's the real peril for him going forward.
Fez, after months, I think it's fair to say, of Democrats kind of struggling to get around one cohesive message, House Democrats are really leaning into this issue right now. Is that the right move for them?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Trump wound this up, first off. I mean, it wouldn't really be an issue if not he had campaigned on it, talked about the release. Then, of course, I mean, most famously, brought right-wing influencers into the White House, 15 of them, gave them white binders. They walked out of the White House and it said on the front cover of that binder, the Epstein files, phase one. They were urging their allies to talk about this issue and winding them up. And now, of course, you know, many of those people feel like they've been played for suckers. And the reason why I think that it's sticking so much is that much of the American public is losing a sense of integrity in government officials. And some of that narrative, I think, that behooves Democrats at this point is, well, you did Medicaid cuts, you did tax cuts for the rich, you did some tariffs, you did, you know, all these things on DOGE, all these things you're doing. What's the narrative? What's the framework by which we should think about what you're doing? And Epstein provides it. A sense that when it's wealthy and well-connected people, we go to the mat to protect them. And when it's not, oh, we go to war against them. And I think Epstein is going to help feed this narrative, help it make it clear to a lot of people who Donald Trump fights for most aggressively. It happens to be people like Jeffrey Epstein.
When you take a step back now, we're 6 months in to Mr. Trump's second term here. The things he wants to be talking about, Kevin, to your point, are the points you've said the core issues he was elected on, right? Immigration and the economy. He's underwater on both. And when you look at recent polling from CBS, he's got 56% disapproval on immigration, 70% of those polls saying that President Trump is not focused enough on lowering prices. This is where I remind you, after the election last year, you said President Trump and Republicans had a lot of political capital coming into office. Have they mishandled that?
Well, look, I think the other thing I predicted back then was, given the political volatility of the environment right now, that no matter who's going to be elected president was going to be underwater and face a very partisan Congress. So I think that was kind of sort of baked into the cake. But look, in politics, one of the most valuable commodities you have is time. And right now, you know, the president's had a very good streak over the last 6 months. But now with these distractions, is it going to take away some time where he needs to focus on the top issues? The president and the Senate and the House Republican allies, they have to go out there and sell the merits of the one big beautiful bill. They have to sell the merits of what they're going to do on things like housing, prices, inflation, right? And so those types of distractions right now, that's the biggest challenge that they have, is how do they work to value that commodity of time and use it more efficiently? And that's one of the big challenges that they have.
Is it a messaging thing, or is it that people aren't seeing it impact their everyday lives yet? They haven't seen prices come down yet.
Well, I think that's it. I think, well, inside the polls, you can see some good things. The intensity that the president has with his own supporters, that's a very good thing. But I think we talked about this during the campaign, all during 2024. The big middle of the American electorate is still where you make or break political majorities that are going to help you in the Congress and where they're going to help you get that, keep and manage that political capital. The most troubling part of the poll was that the president has sort of shed his support with independents.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he has to get back by talking about the issues that those voters care about.
Faz, meanwhile, Democrats have faced their own frustration from their base, arguing they're not doing enough to fight President Trump's agenda. You said after the election, the party brand is suffering, it needs repair. Are you seeing that repair work being done?
Not yet, and there's a reason for it. There's a tension within the party right now, unfortunately. There are some who say we should play dead. We should not say or do anything. We should let the Republicans dig their own grave. They're not dumb people. These are intelligent people making an argument that Democrats should just lay low. And the problem there is that, you could potentially win a midterm election off of that. You can be the other party and gain seats because voters want to deliver a verdict, particularly motivated voters, and voters in the midterms want to say, hey, we want to get off this Trump train and move to a more rational sense. But for those who care about the Democratic Party, how are you defining it? How are you making that an appealing vehicle that people want to support? Right now, if I had to ask you on Outlook, what are the main things that Democratic majorities want to do if they were governing? You couldn't answer it. Not many people could answer it. At this same time in 2005, George W. Bush was president. Democrats said, we're going to come up with an agenda, 6 for 06. Here's 6 things we're going to do. One of them happened to be the minimum wage. They wanted to raise the minimum wage. That was the last time, Amna, that we raised the minimum wage, was when Democratic majorities came in, worked with President Bush. My point is, right now is the time for Democrats, if they want to repair the brand, be for something. Come up with an agenda, say this is what we will do if we're in office.
You're saying going into the midterms, being the anti-Trump party isn't going to be
Not enough. Not to repair a brand of definition. What is it that you stand for? That's what the Democratic Party needs to repair right now.
Kevin, meanwhile, I've heard over and over this idea of a distraction for the Republicans, right? That they are not talking about the things that they want to be talking about. How do they change the narrative over the months ahead?
Do exactly what, I think the counterpoint will be which one of these parties does a better job of talking to the voters that really matter the most in this election. Donald Trump and Republicans won because we have inherited and done a good job with working class voters now. They have migrated over to the Republican Party largely because of some culture issues, also because some of economic issues. It's those economic issues that are going to be the salvation for winning in November of this year. So how are you talking about bringing down prices, creating jobs, housing, childcare, healthcare, energy prices? That's going to be the core. Those are going to be the core issues that decide the midterms next year.
Comes back to the economy again
always,
and again
always,
and again. Kevin Madden, Faz Shakir, great to see you both. Thank you.
Appreciate it.